Well, hello, all you lovely, lovely guardians out there in the Destinyverse. I was so excited on Friday, as you may have seen with my previous video, to find that Zur was selling the last word. And being a real user of hand cannons, this to me was actually better than the Suros regime that I was hoping for, or at least potentially better. I mean, I wasn't sure, I'd never used it, but I had seen lots of videos on YouTube from people that had got this gun through rewards or drops on the Nightfall or maybe raids, I'm not sure. But either way, I was very excited to get this, and I wanted to show you some of the footage of the first time out with it. And the reason I wanted to do this is because all of the videos that I'd seen, at least as far as I can remember, were those that showed this thing when it was completely leveled up or almost completely leveled up. And one of the things that they all mentioned was that you need to have one of the perks that comes with that you can unlock. I think it's the 8th perk, which is perfect balance, and that tames the recoil on this bad boy. And the reason I was particularly keen to illustrate this was because looking at the stats between this and my other exotic hand cannon Thorn, I noticed that the stability actually seems to be the same on both of them. And I know that Thorn is pretty serious recoil. Now, okay, I do have the enhanced stability perk on Thorn, and with that enabled, it's the same as last word. So Thorn straight out of the box is actually worse recoil than last word. But even so, even with the perk applied to it, Thorn is still pretty hefty kick to it. And so I wanted to see how this would work with the fanfire ability. And you can see on the screen, that's pretty serious. Excuse me. I wasn't actually pushing down on the stick there. I was just firing, and you can see how that thing was kicking up and going all the way to the top of the screen pretty much. So I wanted to take a look at this and just see how it would work. And the thing is with this, I think that you pretty much have to learn how to use it because the firing mechanism is very different. What you can see here is the aiming down sights, and the thing is that you get bonus accuracies for hip fire. Now, I'm not a real hip fire player. I normally go for ADS. So this is quite an interesting thing for me. It's not something I'm used to, and as you've probably already noticed, I'm not particularly brilliant. I'm really having to try here to get to grips with the way that it works, the way that it looks, and it's not easy. Although I did record a little bit of extra footage, which you'll see at the end of this clip yesterday, and it seemed a lot easier to use. So I think it's just a case of giving it a little bit of time and getting used to it. And the other thing about this is that the range is far less than that of Thorn, and also of the Devil You Know. It has 8 in the chamber, whereas Thorn only has 6, but it is also a lot faster than Thorn to reload. Now, that with the fact that the range is not so great really does make me think that this is intended as close to mid-range only. It can work at slightly longer ranges, but obviously you're going to get some damage fall off over distance. Whereas Thorn, you can use it almost like a scout rifle. Again, I've included a clip at the end, and you can see that in effect. And Thorn also has this sort of damage over time effect, which once you've unlocked is kind of cool. It doesn't really seem to make much difference on bosses and that kind of thing, because it's not a stackable perk. If you shoot them once and the damage over time starts, and then you shoot them again, it starts over. The effect doesn't build up. But on smaller enemies, if you've got a group of them, you can normally hit one of them and then move on to the next, knowing that the damage over time is probably going to kill that first enemy if they didn't die outright. Now, with the leveling up of this thing, I was thinking if it's the 8th, then it's going to take a little while, and it's really going to take some perseverance, I think, on getting used to this. I did take it into the Crucible briefly. Now, I'm not the best player in the world. I'm not the most accurate, and I don't have the best reactions. And I think that's why I tend to sort of ADS more than hip firing. But I just thought it might be interesting for you guys to see how this works. And in PvP, I found it quite difficult to get on with. When I could get onto target quickly and accurately, yeah, it was dropping people very quickly. But I really think that to be effective in PvP, you really need to have that perfect balance perk unlocked. So I'm going to really try and grind this out in PvE, get it upgraded. I've got some of the telemetry, and I think that that's going to really help me once I then take it into PvP. So I'd be interested to know if any of you guys out there have already got this, whether you've already leveled it up. Did you notice a really big difference between before you had that perk enabled and after? I'd be very interested to know. So if you could leave that in the comments for me, that would be excellent. Or do you have another preferred hand cannon? Is there something else that you use that you think is a lot better? The Devil You Know, as I've said, I started using it relatively recently, but I have been using it a lot, and I really like it. It's got very good range on it. It has 12 in the chamber, which is fantastic. It's got a good rate of fire. It's got a good reload speed. It is really an excellent hand cannon. And to be honest, when I took it out yesterday, I was finding that I was doing very, very well with that. And I wasn't so sure that at the moment, without having leveled it up, I would say that the Devil You Know is actually better than the Last Word, but then I haven't leveled anything up on the Last Word, so I'm sure that situation will change. As for Thorn, it really is, in my opinion, it really is only good at sort of medium to longer ranges. And the main reason for this being, it's slow to fire, it's very slow to reload, and you're going to see that in this clip here. If you're up close and personal and you miss a couple of shots and you've got to reload and you've got 2 or 3 baddies coming after your blood, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I often have to sort of cancel the reload to try and punch someone in the head and then back off to try and complete my reload. But here's an example of the poison working on an enemy. And there's another one in a minute. Here we go. I'm just going to cap this guy, and then you just see it working. Boom, and he drops down dead. So it's not a major perk, to be fair, but it's kind of handy sometimes. So there's a little bit of footage here with Thorn, and you can see that when I can take my time, I can line it up, I can hit them. This can be really handy. But when you do get up close, when it does get a bit messy, then this is not the hand cannon that you want with you. It really isn't. Now, you see here, I'm trying to reload, get into a punch up. Now look how slow this reload is. It's really not very practical for close up. It's not intended for that, I'm really quite sure. But once we get past this, I love the green effect though, when you've got this damage over time. It looks so cool. Everyone can see when you've hit the enemy, that's for sure. So, but then after this, I'm going to take you to have a quick look at the Devil You Know. And as I've said, the Devil You Know, I think especially the fact that you can buy it from the Vanguard Quartermaster is fantastic. Because to me, it's such a versatile weapon. It's really good at close range, it's really good at the mid range, and you can even use it at longer ranges. And I've not even unlocked the Send It perk yet. The Send It perk, when you check it out, seems to increase obviously your accuracy and your range, and it doesn't even appear to offer any penalties. You know, when you compare when you look at the weapons chart and you can see all of the perks and the unlocks and everything else, and you sort of hover over the Send It, it doesn't show decrease on any of the other attributes. And ordinary, that's what you see. You apply one perk and it normally implies a penalty to one of the others. There's the damage over time again. Boom, he drops down. I love that shit. So let's take a quick look then. Devil You Know, well, here's the chart first. You can see for Thorn. Your field choke, so more range and impact, increased recoil. I thought that was nice to get on there just to give me that little boost to the range. Last round in a magazine does deal bonus damage, which is handy. Aiming is very fast, increased range and accuracy. I don't think you really need that. I think this is far more important, perfect balance for Thorn, because it does have a lot of kick. And Mark of the Devourer, this is the damage over time, which is really good fun. Okay, so taking a look then at Devil You Know. It doesn't look quite so interesting, that's for sure, but you can see here the impact is huge on it. Rate of fire is okay for a hand cannon. Range, it doesn't look very much, but I find it to be pretty effective over pretty good ranges. Causing damage with it increases stability. Field Scout increases your rounds by 1. Single point sling, switch weapons faster, and Send It increases range and accuracy. And you can see on there, it doesn't seem to have a penalty on anything else. And crowd control, kills with the weapon grant bonus damage for a short time. So I think once I've unlocked it, I'll get Send It on there and check that bad boy out. But you can see that it's really easy to use. You know, I kind of just drag the gun side to side and just pull the trigger as soon as I get over the target, and it's instant. It's a really nice way of working it, especially when you've got multiple enemies. And you can see there, it works nicely. The recoil isn't too bad, and it comes back onto target. That's a really cool thing, which is something that Last Word doesn't do. Last Word, stuttering idiot. It doesn't do that. And I think that's a big thing. This is what I'm hoping that Perfect Balance will fix. Because for this, it's really useful. And Last Word, I think if it does kind of reset to where you were before you fired the shot, then we're going to be looking at a completely different ball game. But I don't know. So as I say, if any of you guys out there have already got it, already unlocked that perk on the Last Word, I'd be really grateful if you could just let me know if that's the case. Does it reset itself to the same point as before you fired? Now you can see when I had the quick go on Friday, I did actually manage to unlock a couple of things with the telemetry enabled. And well, yeah, I was better with this when I just recorded this clip. You'll see it was working quite nicely. But again, hip firing is really not my thing. I'm really going to have to try and work on this to get the most out of it, because look here, Last Word, bonus damage and stability, extra precision damage when firing from the hip. But even so, you know, it's dropping people very quickly. I'm really interested to level this bad boy up and really get to know it, and hopefully get to love it and get to use it a lot. I'm just so glad that we managed to pick it up. And that's really about it. What I've done is at the end of this, I've just given you a look at the sort of sheet for each of these handguns, so you can see exactly what they look like with their stats and their perks. And again, I would be very interested to hear if any of you have already unlocked the you know, the extra stability on here. how does that really work? Does it make such a big difference, or is it just simply a case of having to get used to using this weapon? I mean, if it does really work out, then I should imagine that I'm almost going to stop using Thorn. Because, simply put, it's such a how do I say it? It really has a particular purpose and not much else. That's the thing. I mean, so much of this game involves, you know, relatively close quarter combat with multiple enemies that I find Thorn, you know, very limited in its uses. Now, I know that they're going to buff Thorn, but nobody yet knows what form that buff is going to take. Whether it's more rounds in the chamber or a quicker reload, I don't know. I would suspect that it would be more rounds in the chamber, because if it's a quicker reload, then I think they need to increase the they have to redo the animation, and that's going to be tough. But thanks, let me know, and please subscribe.